Guys, finally some news that we've been waiting for. Jaden, how long have we been waiting for this news? 2 years?
A long time.
Amazon is announcing some very cool things at the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas. Our friend Allie K. Miller is out there right now reporting live from there as we know. Alexa.com. Guys, this is using Alexa powers and using Amazon's Echoes, all the things that you have in your house, all their Echoes and all that kind of stuff to actually create something useful. I have so many thoughts on this, but Jaden has been doing a ton of work and research on this. Jaden, talk to us.
Okay, well, when I first saw this like 1 hour ago when it came out, I was so stoked. I went over to Alexa or to Amazon.com. We've been talking about this forever because basically I think all of the top AI companies or all of the top technology companies should have some version of a competing tool. I don't think there really is an excuse for Amazon or Google to, just be using the API to OpenAI forever. I think this is something that everyone should be working on. Amazon, honestly, I give them the least amount of like shade of other companies that I feel like haven't went all in on it. They've done a lot of work with Anthropic. They've invested heavily in Anthropic. That was really good for their AWS platform. So Amazon has been seeing a ton of benefit, but they also did go and train their own models, but they also work with other companies. So they kind of take this hybrid approach. In any case, they have Rufus, which is their chatbot embedded into Amazon, which will give you tips about Amazon products. So I think they have a great use case. And finally, they have released a standalone product, sort of, for that is Alexa. Now, what's cool to me about this is if they want to say, look, like the Amazon Alexa is better than the Google Assistant or than Apple Siri or than, any of the other assistants, it would make sense that this thing could also be a ChatGPT competitor, right? If it was really something that was as good. So this to me signals a lot of confidence. Where I don't see this is I don't see Siri.com coming out of Apple, which if they did that, I'm sure tons of people would go and use that. Why wouldn't you just make Siri its own standalone app? I don't see that. So I don't think Apple's has the same confidence that Alexa has. I'm very excited about this. When I first saw the news, I went over to Amazon or Alexa.com to go see what was there. And this was the note that I was hit with. So just, bear with them. But they said, exclusively for Alexa Plus customers, chat and go deeper on topics on your browser, available to customers with Alexa Plus. So only if you have Alexa Plus, which is $20 a month, I believe. But you have to have the actual Alexa device and actual Alexa account in order to get this access to the web. I don't have Alexas. I've used the Google Assistants, speakers, smart speakers or whatever. So maybe I'll have to get an Alexa just to test this out. Connor, I know, is the Alexa king. He told me once that he has lost track of how many Alexas he has because he has so many in every single room of his house. So he should have enough subscriptions for anyone if they're curious to try this thing out. But I will say, yeah, that's the only drawback is right now you actually have to have the device and an account. And in the future, though, I expect this would roll out to everyone and be a direct competitor to ChatGPT.
I mean, no question. Jaden, like Alexa. So we've had, that monolithic Echo in our kitchen forever, but even Amazon has been admitting that the way that people use their devices is for two things. It's the weather and timers, and that is it. And I mean, the amount of sort of like, compute that goes into just like having, timers and which is literally you could set with literally sand going through an hourglass. So the technology is not required to have a crazy timer. But here's the thing about Alexa.com. So we bought 3 for Christmas. When I started hearing rumors of Alexa Plus and everything like that, I'm like, come on, you got to do this because we love these things in our house. Finn has one in his room. Lucy has one in her room. We have one in the kitchen. The only reason I took it out of this office, Jaden, right here, is because I was working with a colleague named Alexa and it was just driving everybody completely nuts. So the problem is, as Amazon says, is also the opportunity, which is Alexa. Everybody wants Alexa to know everything about their family, right? About like, hey, Alexa, when is this happening? Or what is this happening? Or how many, teaspoons in a blah, blah, blah. So what they're saying is that Amazon is saying that they really need everybody to kind of like share their personal documents with it, right? So that's what Amazon is missing. Amazon doesn't have what Google has, right? And which was then by sort of transitive property is what Gemini has, right? Which is everything you've ever, emailed, all your calendar stuff. Like that is a treasure trove for Google and Gemini. But Amazon, what they do have, and what they've had since last year, Jaden, if I recall correctly, like they have large language models. They built their own, which were really good, really powerful. They're not ChatGPT, but they're really powerful. That's what drives me nuts about Apple when everybody's saying like, oh, see, Apple's just like waiting for to scoop up other intelligence. I'm like, I know, but Apple, like, you could have had this like for not that much already. It's not that hard. But anyway, so no, I'm not going to bash Apple because I love Apple. But with Alexa Plus, what I love is that they're sort of like really looking at this as a hub to manage stuff going on at the home, right? So kids, so I'm reading off of TechCrunch right now, who's over at CES too. Kids' holiday schedules, soccer schedules, doctor's appointments. When did the dog get rabies last? When is the neighbor's barbecue happening? I was just literally read that off the TechCrunch article. But Jaden, the problem is Amazon doesn't have that information. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not integrated into, like, you don't have your Amazon calendar and everything like that. What Amazon does have is everything it knows about everything you've ever shopped for, but that's very different. So this is going to have to be some kind of integration, which I don't know how it's going to work. It's probably going to have to be through not like a Zapier kind of thing, but something that's so easily integratable that any idiot can do it and any idiot will do it. And I think that's probably a subscription version right now so that they can kind of iron out the kinks. But if they can get this right, Jaden, this is it. This is the thing. It's the thing that lives in it's what Sam Altman is trying to create, something that lives on your desk that you can just talk to, that knows everything about you. This is it.
Yeah, it's true. In the same way, I think Meta has a major competitive advantage with hardware going into next year because they're better Ray-Bans and having AI integrated. I think Amazon's major competitive advantage is the fact that there are over 600 million Amazon devices sold worldwide of these like Alexa Echo Dots. So there is so many of them out there. I think a lot of other people kind of gave up on this whole market. They're like, Amazon kind of crushed it. Google's out there competing, but Amazon crushed it. And I think they're going to really capitalize on it. Now, one thing that I do think is interesting is they have an app that comes along with the device. And on the app, they are starting to kind of put all of these AI agents, quote unquote agents, but like all of these AI tools right inside of the app. So you can imagine this app is essentially probably going to just transform into looking like ChatGPT at some point. It's going to show all of your searches, your voice searches, but they're just on there. You can ask them on the app or you can ask them to your device. It doesn't really matter. And there's already so much distribution for this. Now, the story that I think is like the most interesting here, because we'll see how good this tool is when everyone gets it. And I actually have high hopes with Amazon. They do a good job. One parallel here is that there's like Amazon Music, which I don't personally use a ton, but it's a great competitor to Spotify. It feels like Apple and Amazon and everyone kind of made like a music platform. Google has one. But Amazon's music platform is great. You have Amazon Prime Video, which is competing with Netflix. You see Amazon like competing in a lot of different spaces, and they generally do a pretty good job. Like I know that maybe they're not top tier, but like they do go and buy, like the Lord of the Rings franchise for their videos. So like they are making a lot of big plays, a lot of big investments. And I think generally they do great. I watch plenty of cheesy rom-coms with my wife on Amazon Prime Video. So like they've done something good there. And I think that they're going to do something good here. And one thing that I think is amazing about this story is you see basically the tale of two companies today. Company A has this whole AI thing that hits it and it feels like it just flounders. It just flops. I'll give you one example of this, which I saw yesterday, which is absolutely shocking. I am looking at a chart on X, which is Stack Overflow's questions asked each month chart. It starts out when they first launched the product. It was, around, I believe, like 500,000 that was happening in 2010. They peaked in 2014. And then they basically maintained pretty steady and have completely dropped off, almost died as of today. Stack Overflow, where developers used to go and ask questions for coding, the company is effectively dead today. If you look at people asking questions. Now, are they dead in the sense that they own like one of the most valuable, maybe like coding data sets? Like, no, I think there's a lot of value there. But they actually had an option when ChatGPT came out and people could see the writing on the wall. Their traffic was declining. I remember that story like initially hitting way back when ChatGPT first launched. Then you had all these coding tools. Stack Overflow 100% could have created a Stack Overflow competitor to, Claude Code or Cursor or any of these other things where it was just an AI agent that did the thing. And it would have been wildly successful, guaranteed. I think what's interesting on this is that this company was actually sold back in 2021 to Tencent. So big, famous Chinese company that I think like ByteDance, Tencent, and one of the biggest tech companies out of China. They bought it for $1.8 billion, and it feels like they kind of dropped the ball on it. So that is the cautionary tale. And I think the bull case is what's happening with Amazon Alexa and a lot of other platforms where the new technology came out. They've completely embraced it. Amazon's Alexa will be AI first. They'll change their app to be like basically a ChatGPT competitor. And I think the company is going to do fantastic and they will continue to crush it. So I hope that a lot more companies take that approach in the future. But there are two outcomes to this new wave.
Yeah, it also just kind of to everything you just said too. It's what makes it so hard to pick winners and losers here too. And you and I both have a lot of friends in the venture world. I know you're. Oh, sorry, I was about to give away some stuff about your AI box. Jaden is doing some really really cool stuff with the AI box. I'm not going to give any of that stuff away yet. But the idea is, when you talk to investors and they're like, it's hard to know where to invest. Yeah, because like Amazon just kind of comes. It's like Amazon had that moment again. I think it was late last year. I might have that wrong, but where they just came out of the woodwork and like, oh my gosh, like they had everything, like an image model and a voice model and a large language model and everything. And meanwhile, with Apple's just getting sort of like crushed. Google came out of not out of nowhere, but like they just completely turned it around to be essentially like what's kind of considered a leader right now. Anthropic, when people were like, well, I don't know what Anthropic's business model is, like, oh my gosh, I think people know what Anthropic's business model is now.
Yep.
And it sort of, this is why with Apple, it's just always good to kind of like hold on to a grain of, or take with a grain of salt, because it's true. Intelligence is sort of commoditized. Like essentially Apple will be able to do this same kind of thing. The reason I'm so unbelievably bullish on Amazon and on Alexa and Alexa Plus right now is that we are already, so Jaden, as you know, like I do all this behavioral shift with big companies and stuff like that, right? So the problem is not whether we can get more AI into the hands of people any more than it's, hey, we need more healthy food available for Americans. The problem is not the availability of healthy foods. That exists. The problem is that our behaviors and the way our brain works says, well, I don't want to eat healthy food, right? So the problem is not availability. And AI, the problem is not availability. The problem is a behavioral shift. And one of the hard things is getting people to just turn to ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or anything else, or Copilot, whatever it is, instinctively to just start talking to it. Because that's all you really need, right? Now, Jaden, when we consider Alexa, as you talk, hundreds of billions of people have or have had an Alexa. I am so used to talking to my Alexa, right? In the same way a lot of people are used to talking to Siri. I have it toggled off because I don't like Siri. But we're already in that habit. So now if all of a sudden that same thing just gets smarter and I can say, hey, when is my son Finn coming home today? Or when does Lucy have volleyball practice? Or when does Liz, fly to Houston or whatever? Like that is going to be unbelievable. That is a true robot companion with something that we're already used to talking to. Anyway, that's why I'm so excited about all of this.
Yeah, I'm super stoked about this. Apparently over 10 million customers now have access to Alexa Plus. I think this is something that's going to grow. I think watch out for Amazon in 2026. I think they're going to make a big play here. And we're going to be shocked in a handful of years that, it took them this long, basically. But yeah, overall, I think they're doing a great job. They're on a great track. I'm excited to see them grow. Now, Connor, you mentioned when you were talking about how you help people with their mindset and behavioral shift using AI. And I would hate to end the episode without telling people to do themselves the absolute biggest favor of 2026 and go make sure that you check out the link in the description to Connor's AI mindset course, not just for yourself, but for your organization. I have been absolutely blown away by how this has helped people shift their mindset. There's companies that will literally buy 10,000 seats of this course for everyone in the organization because they see just how transformational it is. So make sure that you start off the new year by checking out his AI mindset course. There's a link in the description. He's doing a lot of exciting things there. And make sure that you get your company to help all of your coworkers take this as well, because I think this is one of the best things you can see to see a lot of progress and improvement inside of your organization. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning into the podcast today. We'll catch you in the next episode and have a fantastic new year.